And we begin with the South Florida race for Congress with national attention. Congresswoman Debbie Mucarsel Powell running for a second term and challenged by outgoing Miami-Dade Mayor Carlos Gimenez, all to represent the people of the 26th Congressional District from Kendall to Key West. Congresswoman, good morning. Great to see you.
Good morning, Glenna. Good morning, Michael.
We're so glad you are with us. Let's begin with the obvious place, which is the death of Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the fact the president seems intent on moving very quickly here. Senator Mitchell says there will be a Senate vote. What is your reaction to the speed at which they are moving to replace her?
Yes, Michael, first of all, let me just say that it's a heartbreaking loss for this country. We're all mourning the death of this incredible, brilliant legal scholar who dedicated her entire life to fight for justice for all Americans, for men, for women. I can't tell you how important it is for us to understand how much higher the stakes are now in this election, because what this means is the Supreme Court is going to be hearing the case to repeal the Affordable Care Act. And in my district, as I've said many times, we have close to 100,000 people that get their health care through the ACA, 300,000 individuals living with pre-existing conditions that have coverage because of the ACA, and rushing for a nominee and politicizing this process is just going to be extremely dangerous for our healthcare system, especially now during a pandemic. But you know what I think is interesting is that the Senate is rushing to bring a vote to nominate a Supreme Court justice. And yet they have done absolutely nothing for 3 months as we've been trying to negotiate another package to provide relief for so many families here in my district that need that assistance, small businesses that keep calling us that need further relief. So I would ask the Senate Republicans to rush back into the Senate chambers to actually bring a vote on the HEROES Act.
So I just want to go on record and say something that we learned here, that I learned this morning, is that in the history, the American history of these kind of situations where there is a Supreme Court opening in a presidential year, whenever there is a president and a Senate of the same party, that kind of rush has always been done the majority of the time. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Congresswoman, let's talk about your district a little bit. District 26 is considered right now a toss-up and kind of is all the time because it's such a split district. And now there are so many independents voting that didn't vote in the primaries. And so we were talking this morning, one of the criticisms we hear about you as a member of Congress is that you are pretty partisan and that you vote a straight Democratic line. How is that going to play when you appeal or try to appeal to your constituents to reelect you?
Yeah, Glenna, look, I've spent my career, I didn't come from politics, right? I spent 20 years of my career working here in this district, mostly at FIU as the associate dean at the medical school. And so I don't play political games, and these ratings, those attacks are false. I have actually established very close relationships with some of my Republican colleagues. Representative Francis Rooney, we've co-led different bills to protect our coral reefs. I worked very closely with Representative Brian Mass so that we can pass legislation to support Everglades restoration, and we were very successful doing that. So those attacks are completely false. What I have done is dedicate the almost 2 years that I have served in office in my first term here in Congress, working for the families, really bringing down results, passing $200 million for Everglades restoration, passing legislation that would provide safety to our communities that are affected by gun violence. We passed several bills to reduce premiums for the ACA, to reduce the pricing of prescription drug prices. Those are the bills that I have been voting for. So I would tell my voters, everyone in the district, to not really listen to these desperate false attacks, because they do this to misinform, to confuse. Go and look at my record and you'll see what I stand for. And I will continue to fight for the people in my community.
Yeah, Congressman, one of the things that Mayor Carlos Gimenez, your Republican opponent, has said to me and said repeatedly throughout the campaign is that one of the key differences, the way you see the world differently. You went to the Homestead Detention Center. You called it a really abominable place, that it was wrong. The children who were there, a couple thousand at one point, were not being treated well. Mayor Gimenez went in, spoke privately with some children, and he came out and he said, there is nothing there that makes me ashamed to be an American. Boy, there couldn't be two more different points of view about the same thing.
Yes, Michael, look, yes, we see the world in completely different ways. I'm a mom and I'm an immigrant. I came here when I was 14. And when I visited the Homestead detention facility, I always thought it would get just a little easier. And it was never easier to see and talk to so many kids, many of them that had been separated from their grandmothers at the border, seeking asylum, fleeing violent regimes, asking for help. And these kids had been held there for months, Michael, and it was being run by a for-profit company. And, you know, the former chief of staff of President Donald Trump, John Kelly, was on the board of that company. They were actually making thousands of dollars by filling those beds in this detention facility. And my stance was always to reunite those children with their families here in the United States, with their sponsors. I even said, look, if their parents are if they had already been deported, they wanted to be with their parents. What child doesn't want to be with their parents?
Congresswoman, in that particular facility, those were unaccompanied teens. Those were not people separated at the border. No. Believe me when I tell you, we have evidence. Please, I would not say something that is not true. I spoke to children. I spoke to immigration attorneys. Not all of them were separated. Many of them were separated. They had family members here. They had separated them from either their grandparents or their parents or their older siblings, some of them. And I mean, I have details on many of the stories. So yes, they were separated at the border. That is a fact. I would not mislead. Okay, that's information that we did not have here. Yeah. Let's go back to something that you were talking about, the HEROES Act, this next relief package passed in the House in May. One of the questions that we face as news reporters from people is all of the people who need this relief still, the businesses, the people, families, are questioning on down the road, how is Congress looking to pay and fund this without running up this enormous deficit? Yeah. The line is our grandchildren are going to pay for it. What is the discussion that you have with your colleagues when you vote for this kind of thing and how to pay for it?
Yeah, look, I think that it's very important for us to remember that we are going through the worst health crisis that has caused an economic recession to the levels of the Great Depression. And the federal chairman and top economists have asked Congress to act swiftly. Because if we don't inject this capital right now into our economy, we're going to see a very devastating result to our economy. Talk to any small business owner that lives here in South Florida. And let's remember, the Republicans, before I took office, when they had control of the House, the Senate, and the White House, passed a bill to reduce taxes for huge corporations that added $1 trillion to the deficit. They didn't have any problems adding to the deficit then. But meanwhile, when we have seniors who don't know how they're going to get their next meal, kids that are going hungry, 1 in 5 kids right now in America are going to bed hungry, schools that need funding to get the resources to protect the teachers, staff, kids, so that we can send our kids back to school safely. We need to continue to expand testing, Glenna. As we start to reopen, in order for us to contain the virus, we need to make sure that if there are any outbreaks, we test, we immediately quarantine those that have the virus so that we can continue to open businesses and schools. We can't go back to closing everything down, but we need resources to do that. And the reality is we have a pandemic and we need to do that. Yeah.
Let me jump in here. We just have a little time left. Let me just tell you a little personal anecdote. We were out to dinner last night with a very nice couple, recently moved from Boston. They said, who's going to be on your show tomorrow? And I said, Debbie Mucarsel Powell. And this wonderful woman, Fran, said, DMP, don't mess with my people. So I guess,
I'm very protective of my people. That's all I can tell you.
And who is trying to mess with your people?
Well, we have a president in the White House that has been attacking immigrants from the very beginning, criminalizing us, dehumanizing us. Those are my people. Our children who need the resources to be protected from this pandemic, those are my kids. The District 26 for me for years has been like my family. I have been very close to people all over the Keys, our fishermen, our farmers, our teachers, our community leaders. They're my family, and that's why.
May I put you on the spot real quick? Carlos Gimenez has agreed to debate right here with us on the 25th of October. Will you join us?
Listen, I am so ready to debate Carlos Gimenez. I've actually already accepted 3 other debates, and he has refused to answer. So let's bring it on, Carlos. I'm ready.
Okay, October 25th. We will see you and Mary Gimenez then.
Put it on the calendar. Thanks so much, Congresswoman.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.